Welcome to the podcast and thank you for tuning in. In this series, we're diving into a topic that affects every single one of us in one way or another: worry. Whether it's about the future, our families, finances, health, or just the uncertainty of life, worry has a way of creeping in, stealing our peace, and weighing us down in our hearts. But here's the good news. God never intended for us to live in constant fear or anxiety. He invites us to cast our cares on Him, to walk in His peace, and to trust in His perfect plan, even when we can't see the whole picture. Over the next few episodes, we're going to explore where worry comes from, why it has such a hold on us, and how we can break free from its grip, one step at a time with the help of Scripture, prayer, and practical tools. This isn't about pretending that everything is fine. It's about being honest with our fears, bringing them into the light, and learning to trust God more deeply in the process. So if you're tired of carrying anxiety around like a heavy backpack, if you're ready to breathe a little easier and trust a little more, this series is for you. Let's walk together towards freedom from worry with Jesus leading the way. So I would like to start out by sharing a story with you today. And it's a silly little story, but I really feel like that it is the first thing that would start out this podcast really well. So the story is called The Gardener's Rocks. There was a master gardener that lived by a beautiful crystal clear spring, tending to his vibrant and overflowing garden. His joy came from cultivating each plant and watching it flourish under his care. He kept a small, smooth, white stone in his pocket to remind him of his gratitude for his life. One day he received a letter from his supplier. A rare plant he had ordered might be delayed due to bad weather. At first, it was a minor concern, but his mind kept turning it over and over. He found a small, gray rock and put it in his pocket to remind himself to follow up. The next week, his wife mentioned their roof might need repairs. Another small gray rock went into his pocket. Soon, he added another worry rock about his health, another about his grandchildren, and another about finances. His white stone of joy became lost among the growing collection of gray ones. He still walked through his garden, but he no longer saw the beauty of his flowers or tasted the sweetness of his sun-ripened tomatoes. His back ached, his pockets were heavy, and he constantly fiddled with the rocks, arranging and rearranging them. He started imagining worst-case scenarios, giving his worry rocks more weight. One day, exhausted and heavy-hearted, he decided he had to do something. He sat by the spring and one by one took the gray rocks out of his pockets. He held each one, and for each concern he could act on, he made a plan and set the rock aside. For all the other ones, the ones he couldn't control, like the weather or the future, he simply held them and accepted them. Then, with a deep sigh, he tossed them into the spring. The water shimmered as the last rock sank. He reached back into his pocket and with relief found his white stone again. The white stone felt lighter now and stood out against the clear spring water. He realized that he had been carrying the burdens of tomorrow instead of tending to the joys of today. He hadn't lost his joy. He had just buried it under a pile of burdens. When his pockets were empty of worry and his heart free, he could again appreciate the beauty of his garden. Wow, I thought that was a really powerful story on how we carry worry. Because worry grows over time, like a gardener's rocks. A small worry can become a collection of burdens that weigh you down. And worry becomes a thief. It doesn't solve your problems, it steals your focus and your peace and your appreciation for the future. Some things are out of our control. For worries you can't act on, acceptance is often the only path to letting go. And joy is waiting. When you shed your worries, you can rediscover the joy that was there all along. So last month we explored the theme on fear. We took time to reflect on many things we as humans face that can stir fear in our hearts. But as we prayed and prepared for this new season, we began to realize something important. Worry often sits at the very root of fear. And that's why we felt led to take a closer look at it. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a cycle of worry, playing out scenarios in your mind over and over again until you finally shared it with a trusted friend? And in that moment, something shifted. The moment that you decided to take it and share it with a trusted friend, the worry lost its power. As if bringing it to the light somehow exposed it for what it really was, smaller and less threatening than it had seemed in the dark corners of your mind. In our last episode on fear, we mentioned that studies show that 85 to 91% of our worries or our fears never come true. And even the ones that do, many people find that when they do come true, the very small percentage of them, that they're actually capable of handling them better than they imagined. So that's our heart in this series, to bring our worries into the light, not just to analyze them, but to invite the peace of Jesus to meet us in those places. Our prayer is that these conversations, that God would begin to loosen the grip that worry has had on our thoughts, our hearts, and our daily lives. So let's journey together, one honest step at a time, towards freedom. We will see you next week as we dive deeper into this topic. See you then.